Today we're going to talk about the kind of temporary work visa that we get for our clients most often. It's called an H-1B. It's a temporary work visa for professionals. It's really pretty simple. It requires three things. Number one, the job itself must require a 4-year degree or equivalent. So when I say equivalent, it could be a combination of education and experience, which I'll explain in a minute. Secondly, the person themselves must have the appropriate degree that goes with the job. And if they don't, let's say they have a 3-year degree from their country, the rule is that if you have 3 years of professional experience in that field, that counts as 1 year of university. So 3 years experience and 3 years of college probably will get you what we call a credentials evaluation by an expert saying that's equivalent to a 4-year degree in the United States. And then third, the employer must pay you at the prevailing wage for that locality. So if we get a computer programmer in Cleveland as a client, and then we get one in Florida the same day as a client, they might be paid 2 different wages, and our paralegals and attorneys will look that up online to make sure that the employer is paying at the prevailing wage. Now, the tricky thing about H-1B visas is that most of them are subject to a numerical cap. Only 65,000 people can get an H-1B each year, plus another 20,000 people who are under the master's degree cap. If they have a master's or PhD or law degree or medical degree from the U.S., then they are in the 20,000 master's degree cap. And in addition to that, we have free trade agreements with Singapore and Chile, and there are 6,800 of those 85,000 visas that are reserved for people from those 2 countries. But in reality, less than 1,000 people from those countries use the visas, so the rest go into the 85,000 pool. I should mention that a couple years ago, the visas didn't run. You can start applying on April 1st. They didn't run out until December, so there was a wide period of time you could apply for these cap subject visas. Last year, they ran out on June the 11th, and this year, it probably will only last a few weeks. So get to your lawyer and talk to your employer sometime in February. Get the case filed on March 31st, so it's in immigration's hands on April 1st. Okay. How about those people who have jobs or are exempt themselves from the cap? Who are the employers who are exempt from the cap? Well, if you're working at a university, you're exempt from the cap. And notice I use the word at instead of for. So you can go down to the local university, and there may be private employers who have jobs at the university. But as long as you're on campus, you are exempt from the cap. Also, if you're working at a related or an affiliated institution. So let's say, Caltech has the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, or UCLA has the Geffen Theater. If you're working at some related institution, you are also exempt from the cap. Also, if you work for a research institution, that's either a nonprofit private institution or a governmental institution, you're exempt from the cap. Now, in addition to certain employers being exempt, some persons are cap exempt. Any physician, or I shouldn't say any, it's a little more complicated, but I'm not going to explain it. Take a look at our physician J1 waiver page. But physicians who get Conrad 30 J1 waivers are exempt from the H-1B cap forever. Also, if we get this question a lot, if you're seeking an extension of your H-1B status and you've already gone through the cap, you don't have to go through the cap twice. And if you're changing employers from one H-1B employer to another one, you don't go through the cap. So what's the procedure? What do we do? Well, first of all, we go through what's a week or 2 process with the Labor Department to get a labor condition application approved by the employer. And that says a bunch of different things, only a couple of which I'll mention right now. That you're paying the prevailing wage, that you didn't just lay off a bunch of Americans and now you're hiring somebody on an H-1B, that you posted the requirement so people know that you're hiring. After that's approved, if you don't have a U.S. degree, then, as I said, you'll need a credentials evaluation of your foreign degree and possibly foreign experience. After that, we submit a form with the USCIS, the Immigration Service. It's called an I-129 form. You need to submit that with the evidence and the filing fees. The employer should pay for the whole thing, by the way. That's the safest way to go about it. If you are legal in the U.S., particularly if you're on OPT, optional practical training, you can go ahead and change your status in the U.S. You can also do that if you're a visitor or some other status. If you're not in status and you need the H-1B visa, you must do that abroad. Okay. Now, there are some alternatives. Maybe by the time you see this video, it's going to be the H-1B cap has already run out, and you're saying, well, now what am I supposed to do? Well, if you're Canadian or Mexican, take a look at our page about TN, or trade NAFTA visas. Those are for 63 different professions that are named, and a U.S. employer can hire you, and it's no cap, no prevailing wage requirement, less time and processing. Canadians don't even need a visa to do this, so that this might be for you. If you're from Australia, there is an alternate visa just for Australian citizens called an E3 visa. And then take a look at our temporary visa page, which is on our white menu over on the left. And you'll see different visa types, all alphabetical from A to V. Especially pay attention to the L1B, which is people with they work for a multinational company and they're people of specialized knowledge, or L1A, which are managers or executives transferring from abroad to an affiliated company in the U.S. Also take a look at the J1 visa. We routinely get a lot of J1 trainees and researchers. And then take a look, this is a very narrow category, but special education teachers, if you miss the H-1B cap, you can get an H3, only 50 of those a year for special education teachers. And good luck with your visa process.